Hi everybody, this is Jody Becker and I would like to present to you how TPACK is related to the instructional design process. The purpose of this presentation is to effectively connect TPACK or technology, pedagogy, and content knowledge to what I am learning about instructional design and some of the best practices implemented in these processes. I would like to show the results of an initial assessment I used in the form of a technology audit administered to a group of learners I work with on a regular basis. I will discuss the important points and possible implications of these results and show how they may affect the instructional design process. I will demonstrate the continuous need to review, approve, and redesign the instructional process with the technology audit as a case study. So what is TPACK? Well, TPACK is the knowledge that teachers use to integrate technology into their teaching. TPACK is the sweet spot where content, pedagogy, and technology knowledge overlap. The integration of these components creates a well-balanced and effective learning experience in and out of the classroom. An important idea concerning TPACK and the integration of it into the classroom is that technology should not drive the learning experience. Rather, it should complement and support the learning process. So what is instructional design? Instructional design is the practice of creating instructional experiences that make knowledge and skill acquisition more efficient and effective. How are some ways that instructors can make the learning process more efficient and effective? Well, first the instructor must know the audience that they are teaching to and what resources they have available to them to assist and accommodate the learning process. Thus, an important part of the design process is to determine the needs of the learners so that the experience meets the end goal and the objectives of the project. Some graphic comparisons. There are some major contributions to the field of instructional design systems, and the sweet spot where they overlap is the focal point, which is on solving educational challenges. In the TPACK model, the area where the three components overlap is where instructors can most effectively use technology to teach what they know using technology. Both of these are focused on solving educational challenges, and learning what those challenges are is a major component of both models. How does TPACK relate to instructional design? This is where some of the TPACK methods come into the instructional design process. A major component of effectively implementing TPACK is to determine the accessibility that the learners have to the technologies they will need to use in order to attend the lessons, as well as what technologies they are most familiar with prior to the learning experience. In fall of 2015, I assessed the needs of a selected group of learners that I interacted with most often. This was part of a technology audit, recommended as an initial step in implementing TPACK into the classroom. I used this audit to find out what technology was available to learners and what they used it for. What I found was not what I expected. In order to meet the needs of the learners, I had to redesign instructional and supplemental materials. In some cases, this was a simple redesign of what technologies I used in order to supply learners with the appropriate information. But here's the results. When I tallied the results of the technology audit, I found that only 3/4 of my learners had internet in their homes. I was expecting this number to be much higher. I also thought that more people would use social media, but lo and behold, only 3/4 of my learners used it at all. This was interesting. I realized that not all of my learners would be able to attend online material from their homes, and that social media would not be an adequate method of communication with this group. So how do the results affect the instructional design process? Well, as a result of the technology audit, I realized how important it is that the instructor is clear about assignments, posts material within realistic time frames for the learners to access and complete them by the due date. If the learner doesn't have access to the material from home, then they would need to be able to access it somewhere else, and would likely have to travel to get there. This means that the material will not be available to them all of the time. The learners without internet in their homes should have the same accessibility to the information as the students that have internet. Files should be in a format that is easy to download and save to a flash drive so that students have the opportunity to read and study in the absence of the World Wide Web. There are many factors to consider in the instructional design process. I learned that the instructor should consider that many students don't use social media and that Facebook, Twitter, and other social sites are not a reliable means of communication with this particular group of learners. Many of the students will not have access to this communication, and then they would be at a disadvantage because of the way technology was used in the learning process. It would essentially create more barriers to success in the class. After reviewing the audit results, I realized that I needed to make some adjustments to the way technology was used in my classroom. I wanted to present my material in a way that would be accessible to all learners, not just the 76% that had internet access from home. I had to approve of the changes that I needed to make and assess if I thought the changed approach would work at all. I needed to find out how technology could best be utilized to meet the needs of my learners. The way that I presented instructional material had to be redesigned to accommodate the learner characteristics that were discovered in the technology audit. I implemented this while following the TPACK model. In conclusion, I would like to point out that components of the TPACK method are complementary to the instructional design process because TPACK is knowledge-based, integration of content, pedagogy, and technology. Instructional designers must assess the needs of their learners and create an accessible context of content delivery and assessments. This way, they can reach all of their learners effectively. The TPACK audit acted as a preliminary learner needs assessment, and the results of this audit provided great data to consider when setting up lessons plans, materials, and assignments in the instructional design process. Some of the resources I used to gather information for this presentation are from a book titled Streamlined ID, An Instructional Approach to Instructional Design, authored by Marion B. Larson and Barbara Locke. I also used information from tpack.org to guide my description of the ideal TPACK application. Thank you for attending my presentation, and happy designing!